Once upon a time, a young Zen monk was living in a small monastery near a lake. As part of the daily routine, the monks sat down, closed their eyes, and meditated in silence for hours. But the young monk had difficulty staying focused during his meditation practice. As soon as he closed his eyes and tried to meditate, he heard someone moving around, disturbing his focus. He opened one eye to see who was causing the noise. He shook his head and closed his eye in an attempt to find focus again. But only a few minutes later, a cat brushed past him, disturbing him again. The wind blew a leaf into his face and birds were singing outside. After a series of interruptions, the young monk felt raging anger inside him. This is exactly the opposite of what he was trying to achieve with meditation. Instead of being calm and at peace, he became more and more upset and angry with the people, animals, and things around him that were disturbing his peace. Frustrated, the monk started searching for a quieter place so he could meditate peacefully. He went to the lake near the monastery, spread his mat, sat down, and closed his eyes. But soon after, a flock of birds splashed down in the lake. Hearing their noise, the monk opened his eyes to see what was happening. Again, he got angry at the birds for disturbing his peace and interrupting his meditation. Although it was quieter at the lake than in a monastery, there were still things that would disturb his peace. When he returned to the lake on the next day, the young monk saw a boat on the shore and thought, "Why don't I take the boat, row into the middle of the lake and meditate there? There will be nothing to disturb my peace, interrupt my meditation, or make me angry." He rowed the boat to the middle of the lake and started meditating. As expected, nothing disturbed his peace and he meditated all day before returning to the monastery. Thrilled that he had finally found a place to meditate peacefully, he rowed his boat back into the middle of the lake on the third day. After a few minutes, he suddenly felt a jolt of another boat colliding with his own. He did not want his meditation to get interrupted, therefore he kept his eyes shut, but felt a sense of anger rising within him, because even in the middle of the lake there was someone or something that was there to disturb his peace. He opened his eyes and was about to shout at the other boatman. To his surprise, the boat next to him was empty and probably drifted along in the breeze and had bumped into his boat. It was at this very moment that the Buddhist monk achieved self-realization and understood that anger lies within himself. After all, it was just an empty boat. There was no one to get angry at. The monk rowed back and returned to the monastery to meditate along with the other monks. There were still noises and disturbances around him, but the monk treated them as empty boats and continued to meditate peacefully. The empty boat story is derived from a well-known Zen anecdote based on stories from Chuang Tzu, an influential Chinese philosopher. The story revives the 3,000 years old Taoist message on self-realization. The moral of the story is that empty boats are everywhere. From the parable of the empty boat by Chuang Tzu, I quote an excerpt. "If a man is crossing a river, and an empty boat collides with his own skiff, even though he be a bad-tempered man, he will not become very angry. But if he sees a man in the boat, he will shout at him to steer clear. If the shout is not heard, he will shout again, and yet again, and begin cursing. And all because there is somebody in the boat. Yet if the boat were empty, he would not be shouting and not angry. If you can empty your own boat, crossing the river of the world, no one will oppose you. No one will seek to harm you." What makes us angry? Is it other people, situations, or circumstances? Or is it something else? It wasn't the empty boat, but the monk's reaction to it that was causing his anger. If you can empty your own boat, no one will seek to harm you. It's easier said than done, but it's not impossible. We all express our pain differently. We shout or withdraw, forgive or forsake, but in the end these are all individual choices. You have the choice to give others the power to decide how you feel. Anger lies within you, and the more you look inside for answers to your emotions, the less you hold others responsible for your feelings. However, not getting angry doesn't mean you won't get hurt. Living in our world, it's impossible to not get hurt by others. But with a proper Buddhist state of mind, you will be able to view all these distractions and situations with a detached sense of equanimity and be able to choose your response instead of just reacting. And when you are at peace with who you are, you do not need to choose anger or frustration. All the people or situations that make you upset and angry are just like the empty boat. They don't have the power to make you angry without your own reaction. And remember the message, the other boat is always empty. Even when there's someone steering it and even deliberately ramming your boat, his behavior has nothing to do with you, so there's never anyone to get angry with. After all, anything anyone else does is done for their own reasons, and much of the time they don't even know the reasons themselves. When you see life as it is, rather than your thoughts about it, you will notice that every time you search for someone to hate or blame, there's no one there. Just an empty boat in the middle of a lake.
The concept of anger, I think we have to think about the phases of anger. There are 3 phases of anger. One is somebody provokes me. I feel angry, okay? I don't have any control over that, right? Then there's the phase of anger of how do I react to it, right? Do I walk away? Do I respond? Do I punch the guy in the face? Do I call him with some nasty name? That's my reaction to anger. And then the other thing is, okay, I didn't have any choice to feeling angry when I was provoked. How long am I going to hold on to that anger? An hour? A day? 22 years? Right? So in order to keep things straight, I give these 3 phases 3 different names. The feeling of anger, I call anger. The reaction to anger, I call rage. And the hanging on to the anger is called resentment. Right? And then if you clarify it, I say, okay, I can do nothing about my feeling of anger other than perhaps take some things in perspective. Right? One of my father's teachings that helped me a great deal was that when somebody did something to my father which should have provoked anger, my father would say, you know, what he did was so foolish. If he only knew how foolish it was what he did, he wouldn't have done it. So, you know, I feel sorry for that person for being such a fool. But if you feel sorry for a person, how can you be angry at him? You know, I feel pity for him. Pity and anger doesn't go together. But nevertheless, I can't control how I feel when provoked, but I certainly can control what my reaction is going to be. And finally, how long do I hang on to the resentments? My greatest lesson came from Alcoholics Anonymous, where somebody said, harboring a resentment is allowing someone who you don't like to live inside your head without paying any rent. And I'm not that kind of a guy. I'm not a nice guy like that to let somebody else pay. So AA helped me get rid of resentments. Reacting to anger took me a while, right, to be able to control my rage. And then I had to realize that, you know, this is part of my being human. Animals react with rage when provoked. Right? I, as a human being, am supposed to be above that. You know, I'm more than a Homo sapiens. So I learned how to control my anger. So I think those are, if a person keeps those things in mind, right? And there's some people who feel guilty for feeling angry, right? Especially at a parent. Right? You don't have a choice, right? The feeling of anger is nothing to yourself. And if you don't have a choice, there's no reason to feel guilty about it. How you react? Oh. Now, my suggestion is keep an anger journal. Right? Here's what happened today. Right? Somebody did this, is that, and here's how I did. Right? Then at night, you see, at the time that I'm provoked, my thinking isn't clear because I'm under pressure to respond. But at night, when I look over what happened during the daytime, and I say, did I handle that in the best way possible? Right? Could I have done something better? And that becomes a lesson for the next time. Right? So I think keeping a journal about anger and how we respond to it is an excellent way of learning, because ultimately, if I am enraged, it doesn't hurt the other person as much as it hurts me.
If you found value and enjoyed watching, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos.